I started grafting about 4 years ago, I guess. Started doing some citrus, some tea bud grafting and such, and then moved on to persimmons. I've got 11 acres out here where I live and on my property, and I've got some native persimmons growing here already, some fairly large trees. And if you know, I'm here in Florida, and if you know anything about persimmons, the native persimmons have a very small, astringent persimmon, which the wildlife love. The deer love them, squirrels, but they're not good as far as edibility. They don't taste good. They'll pucker your mouth. They just do not taste good at all, as far as that goes. So what I went ahead and did is I started grafting ornamental Fuyu persimmon, the variety, onto the native persimmons rootstocks. I started doing that 3 years ago, and I've been successful about 50% of the time last year, but I had an issue with a lot of the grass blowing out in bad storms. So I wanted to show you here what I've done. I've got this this camera on a tripod, so bear with me here. All right. This here is a tree. It was a native persimmon tree, a nice sized tree. It was producing very small persimmons, and there's a grower in the area that has the ornamental variety, and actually has a grow that he sells an orchard, I guess you would say, that he sells persimmons. Well, I went over and got some. He was nice enough to give me some persimmon clippings, scions, budwood, you know, and so I grafted. This is the first ones I did here. And this was bark grafts. And as you can see, they took quite well. The bark grafts are very easy to do. The problem is that I found out is they're very susceptible to wind, and so very weak graft. I mean, if you have 20-mile-per-hour winds, it can blow out. And another problem is, if you notice, of course these have just started to burst out, but the ornamental varieties have a lot larger leaf and they're very top heavy, and so they can blow out a lot easier than like the native persimmons that have very small leaves. So that's something you have to watch out for. So I tried, last year I did mostly bark grass and had a lot of blowouts, and I did a couple cleft grass, one that took, and I did some whipped tongue grass that took, and the whip and tongue grass was the most durable solid graft that from what I found, from what I did. So I'll show you this over here. These are my persimmon trees. I've got a few more on the property, but you can see these are the natives here. Okay, I did this one. This here is this is a bark graft here, another bark graft. This here was a whipped tongue graft, and you can see where I'd spliced it, and that is a very solid graft. I don't have to worry about it blowing out this year. I can probably let it produce fruit for the first time. But last year I had to keep trimming these down to keep them from getting top heavy and losing them. So that's just something to keep in mind, something I hadn't considered, and I've done a lot of research online. YouTube, I've researched a lot of professional grafters, information from them online, and I didn't have any didn't see any information on, as far as that goes, about what not to do. So I've learned through trial and error. But the bark grafts, they take very well, but I'm just letting you know now, they're very weak grafts, so you got to protect them, or if your persimmon trees are in a protected area, it's fine. They will take longer to take. This is one I just did here. That is a whipped tongue graft I just did on that one, on that native stock there. It's a very durable graft, so I'm hoping that'll take. It should. Come over here. This tree here, I did a whipped tongue graft on this one. last year, and it's like completely took. It's a great graft. Something, a cutworm or something, cut it off on top, but it's starting to burst out now. But this here, this was another wet tongue graft, so it's a good one there. That's my budwood, my scions that I got, and when you're doing persimmon, just to let you know, you want to get the scions when they're dormant. You don't want to get live ones that have already burst out as far as the budding goes. You want to have them, you want to get them just before they start to sprout out, and so you got the swelling of the bud, and that's when they're most likely to take, and they're yearning for that energy from the plant when you graft onto the native variety. So that's something to keep in mind. Let me get started here. I'll get back to you.